My name is Stonecraft117. Now, it's been a while, but as to tell you for the reason, I've been here on the grind here in Destiny 2. Now, I've been going through several weapon rolls that I do have around with me, and they're just there to show off just for examples, and also that exotic weapon recommendations too. Now, there are some things that some people tend to sleep on, like things like malfeasance. Now, this hand cannon is pretty decent at sometimes. Sometimes it feels a little bit underpowered against majors, but it could get pretty strong sometimes. DPS can be slightly decent at some other times. But now, yet then, I'm gonna go through several weapon rules now. I'm gonna go through a couple examples, like here with the Kindle Orchid. Now, this one here, as you see, is just a curated. But yet then, if you have Kill Clip or Rampage on this would be very good for both sides of PvE and P. So, you're able to get somewhat, if you're able to get a 2-tap. Yeah, there in the Crucible, which I tried out, it was pretty decent. But then I have here for a PvE roll. Here the Kindle Orchid. Now once again, it does have drop mag. But it also got there with flare mag, or triple compensator there, but hardly any of these perks doesn't really matter much. Probably drop mag if this is the best option to ever have for Rampage to go along with that. So it could keep you in action. But surrounded, now I do have quite a bit of mixed things here and there. But surrounded, I find it works best there on shotguns, hand cannons, and maybe machine guns. This is probably the only best times I ever have it with, but having it with Rampage, now you could get up to pretty much insane numbers with that. If you do have a role like this one, along with surround spec, then I'll recommend to keep it. Now I do have one that's very unusual here. Now it's not really much of a drop here, but I say it works. And it could get pretty nasty depending what loadout you're going with. So this one has Shield Disorient and Disruption Break. And these two rolls, they could get nasty. Now, imagine when you use Disruption Break, it really doesn't matter what enemy shield you're broken with. Even if you match the element. Now, the only time we need to match the element is Shield Disorient, but Disruption Break does the job. You can find out the Killer submachine gun. And yet, when you combine it with something like a kinetic shotgun, or there's also another kinetic shotgun, which is the Imperial Decree, which I'll show off just after those. But yet then it could get pretty nasty when you're stacking damage with Disruption Break. Since I know that stacking is going to be a little bit more different now, but weapon perks can be stacked. And Disruption Break is going to be probably secretly an underrated perk, but I would invest for that and try it out for yourself, because it could get pretty damn devastating for some of the weapons there. Yet if you're combining it something like the Chaperone, which although it's only meant for PvP, but it could get pretty nasty when you hit things in the head with it. Or you think that if you're able to pop a shield for a far distance, that the combine it is an Augie's Burden with the Honage, if you're able to masterwork that, then that could also get pretty nasty too. But also likely, along with Sturm there, that, well, I say maybe onto the sidearm that does have Disruption Break, though it's Drain. the year 2 version of it. I said, yeah, that could also get pretty nasty, stacking 100% buff with, I don't know, I think if I remember correctly, this must be 50 or 60% for kinetic precision increase. Which, that would get pretty insane if you do have the experiment in the year 2 drain. With that. Now, there are some weapons that could still somehow manage, like the Whisper of the Worm, although it got completely diluted now. It's just been neutered from its perk and circled all the way back to Destiny 1's nerf on the Black Hammer, the Black Spindle. But yet then there are some exotic armor pieces that are still keeping around, like Stompies here. The Chromatic Fire has always been interesting, but its Firefly is a little bit delayed, because although it's supposed to be slightly delayed, then exploding, just like how Dragonfly is supposed to be. But it is a little weird, but hell, it'll work. Yet then, if you're going up for crowd control, it'll definitely work. Now it's still keeping around the Winter Skull goalie here, but there's also Thunderlord, the Queenbreakers here. But also got several other weapon rolls to recommend here as prime examples. Now I do have here is my Steel Sibyl Sword, which I may or may not end up mentioning it back in the other videos, which is somewhere buried in the other 50th videos. But anyways, so it's got a pretty good roll of, because it stays very consistently with the Whirlwind Blade and Relentless Strikes. Now you have the Heavy Guard, yet I just do love how efficient you could get with it. Although some people say that most of the guards doesn't work, but if you're trying to guard with it, then Heavy Guard is going to be your best bet if you ever try to guard with the sword, although most majority don't ever guard it with it. But it's still pretty good to ever have Heavy Guard onto a sword. But then there is Jagged Edge, which you could do absolutely the most damage with it. Along with stacking with the Masterwork, just to get more damage out of it, to throw in boss spec or a major spec, then you're just laying in damage. But I want to go for boss spec since this is a heavy weapon. And swords are pretty nasty right now. Which, yet then I will not sleep on the swords just yet then they could be useful in some situations. But although they really don't ever have much places to go with. But you can look into it. It's just there for my recommendation. But there's also the Black Talon, which the Black Talon absolutely fits into mainly consistency strikes. Now raids maybe, but I may have to try it out myself whenever Shadowkeep launches, which is within a couple of days or so. But there's also grenade launchers. Now the Colony, yet is still pretty good to go. Prospector, yet the Prospector is still good since they're not nerfing out the grenade launchers. Now there's some rocket launchers that do probably need some love, because sometimes they really don't feel as powerful. I'd say the most powerful ones, that if you're stacking the tractor cannon with a Void, or having the tractor cannon with high impact framed rocket launchers. Now I do find some that could probably stay up there and keep up with it. Now with this one right here, you're looking at the augmented roll. So it is pretty much the most decent, but I'll say it is a near god roll for that, since it has perks as for both PvE and P. Say volatile launch, yes, I can make the blast radius pretty big and a decent size. I like casing just to reload it even faster, yet than their PvE, MEP. The auto-loading holster there, so that if I blast somebody off in the Crucible, then I'll just wait for the auto-loading holster to reload. They'll be ready for the next shot. But if I gotta go optimizing for damage, then there is with field prep, and then the impact casing, then getting counterbalance mass just to get a little bit more travel time out of it, although some people say it really doesn't matter for what velocity, but I do find some sorts of differences with velocity and blast radius that seemingly the more average they are, seemingly that you do, I don't know, more damage or so. It's pretty weird how them things go, but now my most favorite here is yet my Sleepless. Now you could go farm those in a menagerie or they're down into the Dreamy City. And yet this one is pretty much my top contender for damaging. And yet it does got all the good perks into that, and yeah, it does very well in most activities. Now yet having either volatile launch or hard launch, and yet the hard launch on a high impact is pretty rare because it's a little bit hard to get by, because I usually find quick launch to be a lot more common to the options, but hard launch yet then it'll increase the velocity onto that, and it'll still maintain high handling with this rocket launcher. Then there's alloy casing there, then impact casing, which these two are usually fantastic perks to use for whatever activity you're going to go into. For Crucible, alloy casing, then for PvP, impact casing. Then there is just the classic OG roll right here, which we remember from the Sins of the Past, the cluster bombs and auto-loading holster. Then it's got the Velocity Masterwork, which it's a little bit excessive, but it'll get the job done. Now right here, if you ever reset your Gambit twice, you already have it onto the Bad Omens that's curated. Yeah, you can pretty much hold on to that because although some will say well not to ever hold on to Bad Omens, but I say it's whatever weapons that suits you best. Now I have a pretty decent edge transit here, having those spike grenades just got the Velocity Masterwork, which allows me to lob the grenades a little bit more linearly or lob it at a further distance. Yeah, it's got spike grenades to that, so it'll increase the damage quite a bit along with the boss spec to stack on top. Now I do have here is a bow, this one is somewhat very hard to come by when you're going down to specific things whatever you're chasing but for me this is the PvE god roll for bows, since I only find this is the only best roll I could possibly find if you want to go for splash damage control. Now there's also other rolls out there like Archer's Temple or Rampage. There's also Dragonfly or Rampage. But this is my favorite roll right here. And I could recommend that to just almost anyone. Yet the arrow perks, I really wouldn't even chase after specific ones, but I say it's mainly the trait perks here is probably what's the most important. And yet the heavy Dragonfly, then explosive head, you're just spreading damage everywhere in small close quarters to just really big quarters, and you could extend it by using Dragonfly spec, increasing the blast radius and damage of Dragonfly. And this bow is pretty nasty, and I still love it to death. Now, if you're actually pretty lucky, then you should be able to have draw time. Now, if you do have a bowstring, that will reduce the draw time even further, then you're absolutely pretty lucky to have it. But now, there's also I have a particular trust that I've been chasing as there for the gobble, and I would literally call it a Walmart Lunas. It's just because it is pretty insane. Now it's very similar, yet then hell, it's got a lot of stability. Yet then once you finally max it out, because it's sitting there at a 93 stability, which this gun does not move at all whenever chamber compensator steady rounds are there, along with the counterbalance stock. But it still will not move, and regardless of which is a big A+ for me. And yet I could tweak with this weapon however I like for most activities. Yet then having the OG gobble right here for the Outlaw and Rampage, which these two are a very good combination. There's also Outlaw Kill Clip. But yet then for this Hank Kenny, if you're gonna go around killing ads, then Outlaw and Rampage is pretty good for the option, but had drop mag to that, then yeah, you're pretty much good to go with that. But for now, I'm just gonna leave it to PvP mode here. Superior stability. Although it's not much range, but it can reach up at quite a bit of distance. Then here yet that for pulse rifles, I do happen to find this one there down into the forges. Now, it's not all that often, and I really don't know what are the chances for these rolls to ever drop. And this one here is a god roll for its performance, and it is pretty nasty to use in Gambit and Crucible, allowing you to push around in close quarters and be in the back of the map. With that, although they are changing the damage fall off, but with rangefinder, it'll fix up the problem even more, along with the range bonus what this weapon has here. So, yet the rangefinder, it's like they extends the range out, and then with Zen moments, yet then just really decreasing up the stability, and Zen moment acts like a natural counterbalance stock. But then this weapon hardly has any recoil from there. But with the steady rounds, yet then that's when I love it. Although it extends it all the way to 75. I do note that last prediction could be extended all the way out to 81, 83 stability, which is insane. But if you're able to get the stability rounds in there with it, and if you're able to get rangefinder at some moment, which I still have not found it yet, but one of these days I will find one with the Swiftrise roll. What I have here. But yet then it'll be one of these days when I finally get it. But yet then this weapon can max out right here for now at 61 range and 6 stability when having the 37 ocular and drop mag there, rangefinder at Zen moment. But then maxes out at 75, yet then and then just throw it all the way down to 50, but maxes out at 51 if you throw this one here. It's all auto, though you see a slight big chunk of green. But also that, if you ever did your Pinnacle quest for the loaded question, it's very well worth it, although they are going to tone down the fusion rifles quite a bit. But loaded question is still going to be a powerful fusion rifle. And I would gladly call it as an exotic since it has such a unique perk that would just do add clearing damage. But now you think that we're going to go into some of the more juicier stuff that's around from the new content. And yet then right here, which I'll absolutely recommend, it's the Imperial Decree because if you're able to get one to drop with trench barrel, full auto, along with assault mag, like the D3 right here, yeah, you're definitely gonna have fun with that. But I also used to have one, and I used to run around with it a while. It was trench barrel and threat detector, and these two does very well. It just controls the recoil. It just makes it to the point it does not move at all, regardless there's only a 1 stack or 2 from the threat detector, because the Imperial Decree's recoil direction is 80, which that is almost just as high as a precision archetype shotgun. And this shotgun will not move at all, and regardless from that. And assault mag will always help out the stability there to control the recoil, so when you're trying to fire in faster rate of fire, that's supposed to naturally remove out the recoil too. So yeah, if you ever get rifle barrel, then yeah, it's a complete god roll, but you can also mess around with it due to the other perks. Now, light mag will extend out its range, but makes it 5 RPMs slower. But when I go into the Crucible, now I find this pretty interesting that, yeah, because I do happen to have the massive range there, but with full choke and light mag together, it's able to give me 50 range at currently where I'm at right now. And it literally just, I don't know, it feels a lot like similar to a Feltwinter Sly. If any of you Destiny 1 veterans who knows about that. And the old Iron Banner weapons are pretty insane compared to what's going on now. Yeah, but I would recommend to hold on to Imperial Decrees who has trench barrels. Now, yet then, since I heard auto rifles are going to get buffed, now things kind of like Tiger Sprite and other archetypes, now yet then these things are going to become very good. And yet then Tiger Sprite does spawn in with triple tap. There was also Hazardous Cast that also spawns in with it. And they are just absolutely amazing, just allowing you to extend the magazine. And then this one is almost like a playground roll, but not all that quite. But armor piercing rounds on that is pretty nice, although I could have gone for a Ricochet, but hearing from the Ricochet that the Ricochet rounds are going to get nerfed because of the range bonuses that it gives out secretly, although it's not really much of a secret at all. But yet then that, I would say that the Ricochet rounds on Tiger Sprite would have been a better option. But armor piercing, then yeah, it just makes this weapon very solid, especially when you're able to get kill clip active with it. You're just able to destroy down shielded enemies with it. And I used it against majors with it before, and it'll just take them down with just no problem. Just kill a normal ad, then the majors, then you just have no problem. Because with the triple tap allowing you to fire beyond the magazine size, it's like it is very good for Tiger Sprite there, colliding with the Hazardous Cast. But also that the Breakneck is also going to become much more powerful, because it feels a little bit underpowered, but also that it's in a weird position. Now, I can see that it is trying to take Huckleberry's place, but the Huckleberry will always win to this weapon. Although the Huckleberry is a submachine gun, but due to its exotic perk, that it'll just keep on constantly reload, and it'll even just shred down the majors. And Bungie is also going to take that 10% bonus and then it's got to add it to the base damage. So Huckleberry and Terror Ball is just gonna be, well, I don't know, not stronger, but yet then they're just gonna stay the same. But if it is actually a buff, then I should notice it on the next time when I go into launch the video there. Maybe a day or two afterwards of the launch, but then I'll be taking a good look around there. Then I hearing about bows, and which ender probably is going to be insanely powerful for one shot. Like against just almost most majority of it. I don't know about bosses, that may be still a little bit underrated against bosses, but with things just like the suitable subtitle Calamity, and also Arsenic Bite. Well, there's also the Veil, there's also Hush, that I'm not gonna ever forget about that one. That all those bows are going to get pretty insanely powerful. There's also one more kinetic bow. I think it's not turning back or no turning back. If I could just go and take a look here. Yeah, no turning back. Yeah, because whenever you're going through the campaign, they're Forsaken. This is probably your first bow that you're ever going to get. Let's go collect. So, yeah, I would recommend this bow too when you do collect it. Because this bow, just with explosive rounds by itself, it is pretty nasty. That it does is considerable damage, over the energy bows. And hold on here, so let's see. Breath of the Dragon. So, yeah. Now I do hear about the other new weapons, which yet then I really don't know how these things are going to be, but they are very hyped. But I'm not too sure before everyone is going to be moaning and groaning about all the weapons, about like how powerful they are. Because it's a machine gun with maximum impact, explosive rounds, high cal. There's also being a hybrid with that, along with rangefinder. That is just absolutely gonna be monstrous, especially during Gambit, just due to machine guns being pretty good during Gambit, and hell, it was annoying there. But yet then before us that we're gonna be headed down to the Menagerie, well, not to the Menagerie, let's see, what was that? Oh yes, the Tribute Hall. And as it is, we're still filming here live. So, yeah. I'm gonna be doing several demonstrations here with the weapons, although some of you, or most majority of you, had seen it already. But then that I will not even sleep on some of the machine guns. Because the machine guns, they are pretty powerful. Now, including with sidearms, but I'm not really too sure how sidearms are going to be in right now, because although sidearms are being slept on, and they can get good in some situations, but although they are being pretty much dwarfed over from the pinnacle weapons like the Recluse, and then there's the Luna's Howl and Not Forgotten. Then there's also Mountaintop too, which you can literally get easily beaten, but the 3 burst ones are probably your best options if you're going to use it there in the Crucible. But yet then, yeah, but I also heard about the new Geotin glitch, which yet then I heard it is pretty broken, but you have to do it under right circumstances, although. But I also heard about mainly a brand new glitch that if you do happen to do it, so this setup is Gambler's Dodge here. It didn't have any mid-tree spectral blades here. Then all you have to do is put on Seal Arcar Grasp, allowing you to fire beyond normal capacity for a short period of time, acting like Lunafaction boots. So like they are gonna demonstrate that. As you see, I fire more than 15. Now this is how you see as I took him down. Maybe just a normal boss, which is your typical, I'll say typical normal ultra if I'm gonna get this right. Because this is not equivalent to a strike ultra or dungeon ultra. Because the reason why I say ultra, because those are old terms for Destiny 1, but they're still classified as ultra, which ultra's range is meant to be ranging from yellow bar mini bosses all the way up to raid ultra, which is the raid bosses. So yeah, which I can also show you also many other things you can also do with that. So then I can also put up another grand example here, so let's just get something good here. Now I also do know that Polaris Lance is going to be rising here, and Polaris Lance, like it does decent there again if you're able to pick somebody off who is not expecting you, although it does suffer a little bit from the fall off range in regards to how much range it's gotten there. Now they also heard that Skyburner's Oath does not have fall off for some reason, but it's probably something that they've probably been doing from the code, but I say it's probably fine with Skyburner's Oath. They really don't need to go and mess with it. Or maybe it's secretly having its range catalyst add-on, because I do remember about its catalyst, but it could be any of those, and yet then it's still a little bit of a mystery from there. But yet then Skyburner's Oath, it is a decent scout rifle, but is somewhat terrible due to some conditions. So we can also put up here for another example, like the Lord of Wolves. I think that you can fire pretty darn well with that. Probably if I'll purposely mess around with the heavy ammo. Because I need to get the game to give me special and primary if I need to show you that. Yeah, but yet the Swords does an extraordinary amount of damage. Also that you have to also find that the Night Watch is also a pretty good option, because it's a kinetic scout rifle and it could put out some damage. Probably a lot more better than a Vouchsafe. Now yet done that, if I could actually get rid of all this, by something like the Pillager. But then the Pillager could get pretty powerful too, as you see here. It's only with Rampage or Kill Clip. I think I'll waste some more ammo with a 41 magazine size. Alrighty then, to trigger that. Now you're gonna watch this guy melt right here. Yep. So there it is. Yet then, so I could tell that this is probably going to be good for the raids if Bungie haven't done anything about this yet. Which I hope not. Because yet then, that it's pretty good right now. And yet then, it should be deserving some love. Although there's... And this is probably the only next best thing to do whenever you're fighting up against something. So, yeah, it's... Although it's getting a little bit too long around here, but this is just all the examples I'm recommending. Now yet then that there is... I didn't know that for the weirdest reason that they I think it was Giving Hand. Because all the opulence mods, they all work during while you're in Leviathan, so regardless if you're in the Menagerie, the Leviathan raid itself, other raids, and then here in the what was that? In the Tribute Hall, there it is. That it does work. Now it does by random sometimes here. But there it goes. Should be spawning a lot more often now. I can also do that against the bosses here. Yeah. Hey, yet then. Right now, yet then things like the Lord Wolves. And yet the Lord Wolves may be staying and remaining the same since it is pretty balanced, although, and it is an exotic, so it should deserve to be powerful in its own right. So yet then, yeah, so, but yet though Agility is going to get disabled, at the launch of the raid. So, as we always know that there is going to be a big heads up for anything broken. But before I go, then I'll be trying to get some more special ammo back here. So I probably need to go and waste all the kinetic first. There it goes. So yeah, the adaptive for grenade launchers does the most, well, not the most, but decent amount of damage. Here, about 150 grenade launchers, the spike grenades are going to be key here. So yeah, so if you really don't have a swarm of Raven, then you could go a grinder in the forges, hoping if you could get an Arcanica D. Or a Cantra, just whatever its name is, and get it out from the forges. That hoping if you actually get a roll with spike grenades on it. But then, so yeah, so as I heard that you're supposed to collide your hitbox here with Jotun. With the boss here, or sticking the gun into the boss. But seriously, it doesn't do a whole lot. Now this it extends its blast radius, but I heard it's supposed to do a lot more damage like that. This time it does a little bit more damage here. But, you know, somebody else that could allow me get me closer. So, either there is a placebo effect, or it really does a lot more damage, but because it is a little bit weird about the bug, but it might have to be the right conditions to do so. Because there's sometimes I'll get either normal damage or extremely high damage. But I do know it's going to get fixed anyways and patched. But I know you can also do the same with Merciless, which you could also melt everything down with Merciless when you combine the Nightmare Fuel perk with Merciless. But although I don't have it out with me, but I also don't know. But I see it, but let's go melt this guy first. Yeah, right, he did. Right, this is probably the last time here, but as it is, they attend that there is, I had talked about earlier, that there is a combo with the Swapshot Breaker and the Trench Barrel. But seemingly Trench Barrel is king on aggressive shotguns. And we'll just demonstrate it here. And as to say, it just absolutely obliterated him. So, yeah. And I might say this might be the wrap up for most of everything what's going on and my recommendations for examples. But when Shadow Keep hits, it is probably going to be good, or what else? Yeah, then, since we all need to know what is going to happen here in a little while. But yeah, then that will be all. Yet then. So yeah, I think this probably will be it. Going through everything, although I kind of went all over the place there in the video. So yeah, I'll probably be making a couple more yet then showing off what I could possibly do with that, and probably be doing solo challenges. I did several of those in my video, probably in the past. But I wonder what else I could do with the current glitch or whatever bug this is there on the Arcor Grasp. But I'll be seeing y'all later, about sometimes tomorrow. Tomorrow or maybe the next day often so, since I am going to have time to post up a new video as I'm here back. But thank you for watching this mess. But I just trying to throw out some ideas out there and some good roles that I do have currently with me. I'm not trying to go around flexing around. Like if I try to flex my muscles at you with all these good rolls and stuff, I just trying to put out some recommendations. But I would like to have some feedback, if you can, about like what good rolls you possibly have. Yeah, out there, although yet the bows are in a weird situation, but the only best roll I would say is the explosive rounds and the dragonfly on the bow. But I am running out of time, but I'll see you all later. I'll see you all in the next video. Yeah, thank you for watching, and goodbye.